Have you ever met someone who treats a homeowners association like it's a personal kingdom? I have. Her name was Linda Cartwright, but everyone in the neighborhood just called her Karen. And believe me, she earned that title like a badge of honor. Short blonde bob, clipboard always in hand, and a voice so sharp it could cut glass. She was the self-proclaimed guardian of our HOA bylaws and considered herself judge, jury, and executioner of what she deemed acceptable. Me? I'm Sasha, 34, graphic designer, and a widow. My husband, Matt, passed away 2 years ago. Since then, it's been just me and Bodhi, my 75-pound Berndoodle who's been my anchor through more grief than I thought I could survive. Bodhi isn't just a pet, he's my certified therapy dog. I don't say that to win sympathy. I say it because it's going to matter later. First, everything was fine. I kept to myself, paid my dues, trimmed my hedges on the first of every month like clockwork. And Bodhi? He never barked unless someone was at the door. He didn't dig holes, chase squirrels, or knock over garbage bins. He was better behaved than most of the kids on the block, if I'm honest. But peace? Peace has a shelf life when you're dealing with a Karen. Started small. A yellow sticky note left on my mailbox. Please keep your dog's noise to a minimum. This is a peaceful community. Odd because Bodhi hadn't made a sound in days. But I let it go. Maybe someone else's dog was barking and she got the house wrong. It happens. Then came the letter. Typed. Signed sincerely, the HOA. Your dog has been reported as a frequent source of disruption. Per community guidelines, we expect residents to maintain quiet pets. Further complaints may result in fines or further action. Disruption. I reviewed the HOA manual. Nowhere did it specify a decibel limit or what constituted disruption. Still, I responded with documentation, Bodhi's certification as a therapy animal, his training background, and even a copy of his behavioral assessment. I didn't want to fight. I just wanted them to know we were legit. Days passed. No reply. Then Karen herself showed up. It was Saturday morning. I had just finished watering my succulents and was sipping a lukewarm coffee on the porch. Bodhi laid at my feet, eyes half closed. She walked up with the confidence of a cop flashing a badge. Good morning, she said tightly, as if the words pained her. Morning, I replied, wary. I'm Linda, HOA president. We've received several complaints about your dog. The barking, the aggressive posture when residents walk by. It's becoming a real concern. I raised an eyebrow. Aggressive posture? She gestured vaguely. The way he stares at people. It's unsettling. Bodhi, who at that moment was belly up and twitching in his sleep, snored. Right? I said slowly. He's a therapy animal, not a guard dog. Linda smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm sure he is, but the HOA has a responsibility to ensure the safety of our residents. If it continues, we'll need to hold a formal review of whether a dog of that size is appropriate for this neighborhood. Is there a specific complaint I can respond to? I asked, because so far, everything sounds vague. She leaned in slightly. Just watch your dog. That's all. And with that, she turned on her heel and marched off, heels clicking against the sidewalk. From that moment, I knew I was being watched. The next few weeks were a slow-motion unraveling. I started getting notices about excessive leash length. Mine was standard, 6 feet. Then came the claim that I'd left waste uncollected on someone's lawn. I had Bodhi on camera 24/7. Nothing of the sort ever happened. The final straw? A formal violation notice stating my dog lunged at a neighbor's child. That one made my stomach turn, because it wasn't just a lie. It was slander. I checked my doorbell camera. The footage showed Bodhi on my porch, leashed and calm, while a boy on a bike whizzed by, unbothered. I sent the footage to the HOA. Heard nothing for 2 weeks. Then Linda came by again, this time with a folder in hand. Her smile was broader than ever. We're holding a special meeting next Thursday, she announced, to discuss the future of your dog within our neighborhood. I suggest you attend. I kept my composure. I had to, but inside the heat was rising. Every nerve in my body was coiled tight. They were trying to ban Bodhi. I played nice, responded calmly, provided documentation. But I could see now that none of it mattered. This wasn't about rules. It was personal. Thursday came faster than I expected. The special meeting was held in the community clubhouse, that awkwardly formal room with beige carpet, cold folding chairs, and a faint smell of stale coffee and entitlement. Linda sat at the head of the table like she was presiding over a criminal trial. A few other board members flanked her, people I'd waved at during dog walks and barbecue nights. None of them looked me in the eye now. I brought everything. Bodhi certification, a letter from my therapist outlining his necessity for my PTSD recovery, and a flash drive with the ring footage of every complaint they'd submitted, each one proven false. But none of it mattered. Linda cleared her throat and began. This meeting is to address several neighborhood complaints regarding Sasha Fields and her dog, Bodhi, whose behavior has caused concern. Concern. That word again. The way she said it made it sound like Bodhi was running a fight ring in my garage. I let her speak. I took notes. I kept my mouth shut and my hands steady even as my palms itched with anxiety. When it was my turn, I stood. I've brought evidence to refute every complaint, I said. My voice didn't shake. I made sure of it. Video footage, timestamps, statements from neighbors who regularly interact with Bodhi. Linda barely looked up. The issue isn't whether he's dangerous in every moment. It's the potential danger. He's a large dog. Therapy animal or not, several residents have expressed discomfort. Someone in the back murmured, "I've never had a problem with him." Linda shot them a look. "We'll vote next week," she announced. But given the volume of concern, I'd recommend preparing for removal. And that was that. No debate. No actual review of my footage. Just a veiled threat dressed as procedure. When I got home that night, Bodhi greeted me with his usual nudge under my palm. He could sense my mood, maybe even before I opened the door. I sank to the floor and wrapped my arms around him. "They're not going to stop," I whispered into his fur. "They want to break me." But I wasn't broken. Not yet. Just bruised. And I'd learned a thing or two about dealing with bullies. You don't confront them when they're loud. You wait until they slip. 3 days later, it happened. I was returning from a short walk with Bodhi. Same route as always, leash clipped, poop bags in hand, when Linda rushed out of her house like she'd been watching from the window. "Your dog attacked me," she shrieked. I stopped in my tracks. "What?" "He lunged at me." She clutched her arm, staggering like a B-grade actress in a soap opera. "I'm calling animal control. This is the final straw." My heart pounded. Bodhi looked up at me, confused but calm. "Linda, what are you?" She turned and pointed toward her Ring camera. "It's all on video. You can't hide behind that therapy vest forever." But I smiled. Because Linda didn't know I'd installed a Ring doorbell across the street at my friend Celia's house a week ago. The same friend who lived directly facing Linda's walkway. Celia, a retired cop, had happily agreed to help. She'd seen Linda's little crusade and called it what it was. Harassment. "Call whoever you want," I said, my voice cool now. "But just know, this neighborhood has more than one camera." Linda froze for half a second. But then her face twisted into something almost amused. "You think one video will save your mutt?" she hissed. "You don't know how this works." She stormed off, but I could feel her unraveling behind the bravado. That evening, I reviewed the footage with Celia. There it was, clear, high-definition proof of Linda standing at the edge of her driveway, waiting. Then, just as I passed with Bodhi calmly walking by, she suddenly flung herself backwards and clutched her arm, falling like a cartoon character slipping on ice. Bodhi didn't react, didn't even look at her. Celia whistled. "She staged the whole damn thing." I nodded, fingers trembling with adrenaline and fury. "And she said it was on her camera?" "Which she won't release, because it would prove she's lying." We uploaded the footage, made backups, sent copies to the HOA board, to animal control, and, on Celia's advice, filed a report for harassment. The next morning, Linda knocked on my door. Not with fury, with fear. She looked smaller than I'd ever seen her, eyes darting side to side like someone expecting a sniper. "You've made a serious mistake," she snapped, voice shaking. No, Linda, I replied, stepping into the doorway. You did. And now the neighborhood's going to see who you really are. She paled. What are you talking about? The footage. The HOA board got it this morning. Animal control too. I'm guessing your little vote next week isn't going to go how you hoped. I was just trying to. To what? Get rid of a dog that's never hurt anyone? Or prove you can still control people with fear? Linda flinched. I leaned forward slightly. You tried to frame my dog. You lied. And you thought you'd get away with it. Then I smiled. Just a little. Now I know how this works. By the end of the week, 3 of the 5 HOA board members resigned. Linda was placed under official review and suspended from HOA duties pending the results of an investigation into harassment and filing a false report. Bodie? His certification was not only confirmed, it was now respected by every neighbor who had been silently watching. The best part? A few neighbors came forward. Turns out Linda had pulled similar stunts before. False complaints, bending rules to punish those she didn't like, passive-aggressive notes slipped into mailboxes. My case cracked it open. She'd made everyone afraid to speak up. Until now, after the fallout, the neighborhood felt lighter. People started waving again. Mrs. Delaney brought over lemon bars. For you and your brave pup. Kids waved to Bodie during walks. Even the Johnsons, who'd been HOA loyalists for years, nodded approvingly when I passed their yard. For the first time since Matt died, I felt like I could breathe without waiting for the next blow. But peace has a funny way of making you lower your guard, and Linda knew that. Because one thing about people like her, they don't disappear quietly. The call came 2 weeks later. It was a Friday afternoon. I was working on a project in my home office, Bodie sleeping under the desk like always, when my phone rang. Unknown number. Normally I wouldn't have answered, but something in my gut told me to pick up. Miss Fields? A man's voice said. This is Officer Monroe with the County Animal Welfare Division. We've received a new incident report involving your dog. My heart skipped. Excuse me? The report says your dog growled and bared its teeth at a minor on Sycamore Trail yesterday afternoon. The complainant requested that we conduct a behavioral assessment. I stood up too fast and the chair screeched behind me. That's a lie. We weren't even on that street. The officer paused. Do you have any documentation video? GPS tracking? Anything that shows your whereabouts? I blinked, then leaned down to touch Bodie's collar. Yes, I said. We do. Bodie's collar wasn't just a collar. It was a GPS tracker-enabled smartband. I'd bought it during his training, mostly for safety, and it logged every walk, every pause, every route we took. Yesterday, we hadn't gone anywhere near Sycamore Trail. I sent the log over within 10 minutes. Celia, ever the guardian angel, helped me contact the department head, who she knew from her time on the force. Turns out the report had been filed anonymously. Again. But this time it was clearly malicious. The officer apologized. Profusely. Still, it rattled me. Linda hadn't just staged a fall. Now she was weaponizing the system again. She wasn't just trying to ban my dog. She wanted to discredit me, gaslight me, exhaust me. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in the kitchen with the lights off, drinking tea I didn't even want. Bodie lay beside me, his breathing slow, rhythmic. I was tired. Not physically, but deep in my bones. Part of me wanted to let it go. Let the neighborhood whisper about Karen's karma and hope she faded into irrelevance. But I knew better. People like Linda don't quit when they're exposed. They rebrand, regroup, strike differently. She didn't need to be embarrassed. She needed to be disarmed. So I made a plan. Step 1. Gather allies. I reached out to the neighbors who had quietly supported me, asked them if they'd experienced anything like what I had. Most said no at first, but as we spoke longer, stories poured out. A teen forced to remove a homemade basketball hoop after Linda claimed it was a nuisance structure. A retired veteran fined twice for overgrown hedges that were trimmed the day before. A single mother who stopped attending HOA meetings after being ridiculed for not having a husband present. Linda had built her power not through rules but intimidation. Everyone was afraid to push back alone. But together, step 2, documentation. Celia and I went through old HOA minutes, newsletters, even emails neighbors had saved over the years. What we found was worse than we expected. Linda had a pattern, targeting certain residents, falsifying violations, even tampering with ballots during past elections. Her clique on the board had let it slide. Step 3. Exposure. We created a shared Google Drive and uploaded everything: footage, documents, testimonies. Celia helped me write a formal complaint addressed to the County HOA Oversight Committee, and I published an open letter to the community in the next newsletter. It wasn't angry. It wasn't emotional. It was clinical, factual, lethal. By the following week, Linda's name was everywhere, on community message boards, Facebook groups, and even the neighborhood's private forum, which she no longer had admin access to. She'd been voted out. And then the final act? Well, it came from Linda herself. It was a Sunday afternoon when I saw her, standing at the end of my driveway, her arms crossed, face tight, but she wasn't yelling. She was crying. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice hoarse. I didn't move. About what? Her shoulders slumped. I didn't think it'd go this far. I wanted things the way they were. Order. Structure. I blinked. You tried to have my dog removed. Falsely accused me. Twice. She shook her head. You don't understand what it's like to lose control of everything. I've been president for 7 years. And now, I let out a soft laugh. You wanted control, Linda. You lost respect. She looked away, and for the first time I saw the cracks, the exhaustion, maybe even regret. But I didn't pity her. Not this time. You didn't have to fall, I said quietly. You jumped. Linda turned and walked away. That was the last time she came near my house. Linda vanished from the neighborhood after that final encounter. Not completely. She still lived in her pale yellow colonial with the white trim, but she was quieter. The clipboard was gone. The daily patrols stopped. And for a while things were peaceful. No notes. No false reports. Just silence. But silence, I've learned, often hides something deeper. Started with a knock at the door. It was Derek, a soft-spoken guy from 2 streets over. I didn't know him well, just enough to wave during walks. But that morning he stood on my porch with a folder in hand and eyes like he hadn't slept in days. You're the one who got Linda suspended, right? He asked. I nodded cautiously. I need to show you something. We sat on my porch, Bodhi lying between us as Derek flipped open the folder. Inside, printed HOA meeting notes, receipts, payment logs, except these weren't from the official records we'd reviewed earlier. These are the originals, he said. My wife was the HOA secretary until last year. She kept backup files on a personal drive. After everything that happened, we started looking through them again. The handwriting changed halfway through a page. Linda's scrawl. Red pen. And that's when I saw it. A maintenance invoice for $18,700, charged to the HOA General Fund, with no listed vendor. Derek flipped through more pages. There are at least 7 payments like this, he whispered, all labeled vaguely. Community improvements, lot stabilization, tree trimming. But nothing was ever done. My stomach turned. Where did the money go? He looked at me, jaw tight. That's what I need help figuring out. Over the next few days, we dug in quietly. We compared Linda's approved expenses to actual work done in the neighborhood. Fencing that was never replaced. Trees that were never trimmed. A supposed playground resurfacing that didn't exist. Celia reached out to a contact who worked in local auditing. Turns out, Linda had been routing HOA funds to a company called LCR Landscaping, which on the surface seemed legitimate. Until we traced the LLC. It was registered to one name, Lucas Cartwright, her son. A landscaping business that didn't have a phone number, website, or even a physical address. Just a P.O. box in a strip mall. Linda hadn't just been controlling the neighborhood. She'd been quietly funneling thousands in HOA funds into a ghost company for years. Derek leaned back in his chair, breath shaky. This could get her arrested. I stared at the papers, heart pounding. Do you want to go public? He hesitated. I don't know. I just wanted her gone. Not jailed. But me? I remembered the look on her face when she tried to have Bodhi taken from me. The smugness. The lies. The absolute certainty that no one could touch her. And then I remembered what it felt like. Being gaslit. Dismissed. Set up. People like Linda don't stop because they're afraid. They stop because they're cornered. We brought it to the new HOA president. A no-nonsense woman named Marcy who had zero tolerance for drama. She went pale as she flipped through the documents. You realize, she said slowly, this could lead to a full audit of the HOA's finances. We do, I said. We also know it could clear a lot of residents who were fined unfairly. Marcy didn't argue. Within days, she called an emergency meeting. This time, it wasn't in the clubhouse. It was in the local library auditorium, because so many residents wanted to attend. I sat near the back, Derek beside me, while Marcy stood at the podium and laid it all out. The false invoices, the fake company, the conflict of interest. People gasped. Some were furious. Some were stunned into silence. But no one defended Linda. Not this time. The fallout was fast. An official audit was launched. Linda was removed permanently from the board and barred from participating in any future HOA matters. She was also served a cease and desist for filing false reports. And the cherry on top, a civil suit was filed to recover the misappropriated funds. But here's what surprised me most. She didn't fight. No press conferences.
No rebutaos.
Just one day, she was gone. Her house sold within weeks. Furniture loaded into moving trucks early one morning before sunrise. No goodbye. No closure. Just absence. A few days later, I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just a single sheet of paper folded twice. You won. I hope it was worth it.
Él.
That was it. No apology. No explanation. Just bitterness inked in careful strokes. I sat on the porch with Bodhi, staring at the note for a long time. I didn't feel triumph. Or guilt. I felt done. Sometimes winning isn't about revenge. It's about survival. Endurance. I'd been dragged through mud, lied about and pushed to my limit. But I'd never barked back. I never lost control. I just stood my ground and let the truth work its way to the surface. 3 months after Linda left, the neighborhood looked different. Not physically, though the park was finally cleaned up, the broken bench replaced, and someone had planted tulips near the entrance sign, but emotionally. The weight that had pressed down on everyone for years had lifted. There were barbecues again, block parties, sidewalk chalk drawings that stretched half a block. People lingered after walks, stopped to talk, shared things, recipes, dog treats, stories. And Bodhi? He became a kind of local celebrity. Kids would run up to pet him. People would ask to take pictures with him. The same neighbors who once avoided eye contact now bent down to scratch behind his ears and ask, "He's the therapy dog, right? He's amazing." It was healing. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just steady, quiet healing. Exactly what I'd needed. But not everything had returned to normal. A few weeks after Linda moved out, I got an envelope in the mail. No return address again. But this time it wasn't a note. It was a check. $2,315. A sticky note attached read, "For the fines. You were right. Anonymous." I stared at it for a long time, my mind running through possibilities. Maybe someone from the board. Maybe a former friend of Linda's. Maybe Linda herself. I never cashed it. I framed it. Let it sit on the shelf near Bodhi's leash, a silent trophy, not of money, but of acknowledgement. A small, strange confession from a system that once tried to bury me. Meanwhile, the audit uncovered even more. Linda hadn't just funneled money through her son's shell company. She'd awarded contracts to friends in exchange for favors, discounts on remodeling, free landscaping, a vacation rental in Tahoe. It was quiet corruption, petty but corrosive. The HOA voted unanimously to install transparency measures. Public budgets, open ballots, rotating board seats. No more one-person rule. A neighbor named Malik, kind, calm, an engineer with no patience for nonsense, was elected as president. He stopped by one afternoon with his German shepherd, Rue, and we let our dogs run in the greenbelt for the first time in months. She really did a number on you, he said quietly. I shrugged. She tried. He nodded, thoughtful. But you didn't break. A few weeks later, I hosted a small get-together. Nothing big. Just neighbors, snacks, music humming low on a speaker, Bodhi wandering from group to group like the host he believed himself to be. As the sun dipped and the porch lights flickered on, I caught myself smiling. Not because anything extraordinary had happened, but because nothing had gone wrong. No drama, no tension, just people laughing, kids playing, someone asking if I needed help with the dishes. Normalcy, the kind that feels like luxury when you've lived under siege. Later that night, I sat alone on the porch, a glass of wine in hand, Bodhi curled up at my feet. The moon was high, soft silver, painting shadows across the lawn. I thought about how far we'd come, how a single, false complaint had spiraled into a battle for sanity, truth, and belonging, how I'd almost let it eat me. I thought about Matt, how he used to say, "Let the facts do the talking. People catch up eventually." He would have liked how it all ended. Not with fireworks or a scandal headline, but with quiet justice. With me and Bodhi still here, still standing. And just when I thought the story had closed, life handed me one last poetic detail. A for sale sign popped up in front of a tidy blue house on the corner, the one that used to host the block's best Halloween decorations, before Linda made the family take them down for violating aesthetic standards. I stopped during my walk, Bodhi sniffing at a flower bed, when I saw the new owner pulling up. She stepped out of her car, smiled, and bent down to pet Bodhi without hesitation. "Hey there, handsome." I smiled. "You moving in?" She nodded. "Next week. Just got the keys today." "Welcome. It's a great street." She looked around. "The listing agent told me the HOA used to be intense." I laughed. "That's one word for it." "Well," she said with a wink, "I'm a lawyer, so they'll have fun with that." We both laughed. And just like that, the cycle ended with a new neighbor, a clean slate, and no one left to play tyrant. Epilogue. I never told the full story to everyone. Not all the little betrayals, the calls, the silence that nearly broke me. People saw the edges, the aftermath, the victory. But the truth? It wasn't about revenge. It was about resilience. Linda thought she could isolate me, wear me down, make me doubt my own reality. But what she didn't understand is that people like me, we bend, yes, but we don't break. And we don't bark without reason. We wait. We document. We endure. And when the time comes, we speak, clearly, calmly, with the truth. And we let it do what it always does, set us free.